Hey friends, this is the walkthrough of the Be the Light presets, just to give you a demonstration of what each one looks like. I also have a demonstration of the Surrender presets and the Studio presets. If you are on the fence of which one is best for you, then you'll want to check out those videos as well. So we are going to be using this image right here. I used it on the Surrender video as well, and I just love this image because it offers a lot to kind of show how the presets work, because it has this kind of neon-y grass back here. They're wearing bright colors and they have like a lighter skin and things like that. It's just the perfect image to show how they work and how they can work with tricky grass. I feel like green grass is really a struggle for a lot of people, as is skin tone. So this is a really great image for showing the presets. I said this in the Surrender video, I'll say it now. Please do not let the white balance or exposure scare you off. It is never going to be perfect. One click on any preset every time. Now you may get lucky sometimes and be like, man, this one works a lot for me, pretty easily, one click, but to get it perfect on every image every time is nearly impossible. It is a very quick fix, and it should never be something that deters you from using a preset. Don't hold yourself back from your potentially new favorite preset. Tweaking should be expected. So this is the original Lookup Child preset right here. And you will notice if you are purchasing these that there are add-ons added in that may be in a separate folder. I've just moved all mine into one folder, but sometimes whenever you download them, it's the added on ones will be in a separate folder. So let's just work our way down them as if they are all in one folder like mine are. So this is the original Lookup Child. It looks like this, one click. And I'm going to go ahead and click on it and show you. I'm just going to get my dropper and click on her dress. It's pretty close to white and get us a good white balance. So this is it, one click with a simple dropper to get my white balance. I'm going to reset. This one is the same preset as Lookup Child. It's just a little cooler because some people don't want to come and adjust that white balance, and this just gets you one step closer without having to do that yourself. This is Lookup Child with masks. So what that means is it already has built into it a sky mask, a background mask, and a subject mask. If you do not want those, you just come in and turn them off or delete them. That's up to you. Or you can click on them and adjust the amount of the mask. All of that can be adjusted. So if you're like, oh man, I didn't really want those in there, then just turn them off. But they really can help you enhance your image quite a bit. If it's too strong, not strong enough, whatever, you can go in and adjust the amount. You can tweak what's actually built into the mask. Once you have them, they're yours to play around with. So that is the Lookup Child with masks. And then I just pulled the shadows up a little bit so we could see a little bit better. So that is what that one looks like. I'm not going to reset. This is Lookup Child with masks, but it's warmer. The color grading is very different in this one, but otherwise it's the same thing. The tone curve's a little bit different as well. You can tell this is a little bit more of a flat image. Some people really like that. This is number 2, the preset number 2. So all of those were built off of Lookup Child, and they were just kind of additional ones. Now number 2 is called Light in the Darkness. It looks like this. And it is a little bit warm, so then we can just go in and get our white balance. So I adjusted exposure and white balance, that is all. And by white balance, if you are not sure what that means, I mean temp and tint. That is all that white balance is up at the top panel here. This is number 3, Salt and Light. It looks pretty good, just one click. So far, that's my favorite one click. This is number 4, This Girl. This one has more blue and green undertones. A lot of that is built into the tone curve, the RGB tone curve, and the color grading. So you can go in and adjust that if you would like. You can also just do it here in white balance, HSL. There's so many different spots where little color tones are hidden, but this one, that kind of greenish blue, is mostly in the RGB tone curve. So I'm going to reset that. This is This Girl version 2. So I went ahead and went in and fixed those things for you in case you couldn't figure it out. So that's just without the bluey green undertone. This is number 5, So Will I. I really love this one. This one is a little bit vibrant, but a muted version of vibrant. I know that sounds totally contradictory, but I know whenever I look at it, that's what it just feels like to me, like a more muted vibrance. It doesn't feel overwhelming. You Say. This one is one that has really strong orange lowered luminance. That was a tongue twister, but it is very easy to kind of pull that out in a couple different ways. It doesn't always look quite that overwhelming and quite that rich with the orange. It's just that this image in particular has orangey yellow flowers, and that's what color that Lightroom is considering these trees back there. So it's kind of a double whammy coming at you there with that orange color. But on some images, it doesn't quite look like that. It just depends on what your image has. But here's a white balance and light and exposure adjustment, and it already looks better, but going into HSL would make a really big difference as well. Be Still, this one's very punchy. It's probably the punchiest and most contrasted one in the pack. So I'm pulled out my shadows and changed my exposure, and then now I'm clicking on my white balance, and that gives us a good base there. This is it as well. Going to get my white balance, and this one will be totally fine with just a little raise in the exposure. I love the way that that looks. This is it. It is well version 2, and I am just going to get the white balance and raise the exposure again. I like version 1 and version 2. This is Love Like This. This one typically is pretty bright. I have to come in and lower the exposure on this one quite often, and then go ahead and get my white balance, push in some blacks, and there's that one. This is My Revival, very vintage. Get my white balance, there we go. My Revival version 2. This is Rebel Heart. This is another one where I'm going to have to lower my exposure just a little bit. I do not underexpose, so on my images I have to do this, but on anyone who underexposes, you do not. This is Trust in You, Waymaker, You Say, and Rescue. Those all build off of each other until Rescue. So Rescue, I'm just going to lower my exposure a little bit. Looks like that. I'm going to reset. Number 15 is Never Alone. It's a little bit more of a brown, I like a clean brown tone. Pushing back in my highlights a little bit, lowering my exposure, and you get this nice kind of fall, really clean, simple edit. Then I have just some what I call bases. So what that means is that they are very clean presets. Like a lot of things are not tweaked in these presets. They are a base for you to kind of build from on your own, or make your own presets from, that you can then save based off of these bases and use them more quickly. So there's a lot of things left alone, like in the tone curve and even in the HSL and color grading, for you to kind of determine on your own. These are very simple presets. So this is Deep Base. This is Deep Base with some masks. You can see that they're a little bit more clear on that one. This is just a very basic preset, very minimal changes. And then this is Deep Base number 2, and you can see that they have some skin smoothing and things like that built into that one, with luminance adjustments and things like that. So that is a walkthrough of all 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 presets, but it's more than that, because each one kind of has its own variation and things like that from there. So that gives you an idea of what they look like, just one click. And there's a lot of variety in this pack as well. Same with the Surrender presets. These are a little bit more saturated and contrasted on some, but then it also has some that are more grainy and a little bit more vintage. So there's something for everyone in there. Just keep in mind that something that starts like this and you think, oof, that's just too contrast, that's too dark, I don't like this one. It's as simple as moving 2 sliders to make it better and have a base that you can work with. Sometimes it's really hard to see past that initial one click if it's a little bit scary, but presets are a base. So do a few little minor white balance adjustments and it will be one step closer to where you would like it. And it's really not as scary as it may seem at first. I also teach mentorships where I can make sure that you have the confidence to do this. My Prosper mentorship course, you can find that on my website or reach out to me and ask some questions about it if you'd like. But it really is something that is very easy and very attainable to do with these presets by just playing around up here in this basic panel. So don't let something like that scare you off from your new favorite preset.